What's really happening between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto? What's really happening between this dynamic duo? Because from all indications and from what I have observed, the deputy president is tired with President Uhuru Kenyatta and his government. And from all indications, is not keen on being associated whatsoever with that government. But what's really happening? Because we all know that yesterday, President Uhuru Kenyatta addressed the nation. And that event was significant to this country. Because for the first time in history of Kenya, the president arrived to a function in his official vehicle with the number plate upside down. That alone signified that the president had a bad message for the country. And therefore, he needed the support of his deputy to be beside him when delivering that message. But the DP was missing. Again, for the first time, the president arrived to a function in this country in his official vehicle without the national flag. So the president was sending out a clear message to the country. And that the message was bad, and that the country was facing a serious challenge. And that challenge just needed the all government support. But his DP was missing in action. The presidency consists of president and his deputy. But what's happening? I want us to look at what's really happening between these two guys. But before we do that, if you're bumping on this video for the first time, just take a second or two and hit the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this one, you'll get notified. Now back to the main issue. What's really happening? Because remember, last week, President Uhuru Kenyatta chaired a cabinet subcommittee on this particular virus. His DP was missing in action. Where was he? Most Kenyans excused him because probably he was busy. And then later on, the next day, the president had chaired another meeting, emergency meeting, of the National Security Council. That's the highest organ of security in this country. Very important. Fred Matiang'i, who was also supposed to leave because that event, that meeting of Security Council was on a short notice. It was an emergency. Fred Matiang'i was called when he was at the airport heading to Siaya. He had to return back. The deputy president, I'm sure he was also called, but chose to go to Nandi to launch a school bus. So that tells you that there's something between these two guys. Now, before we go into that, let us just look. Let me just take you, because I like, in most cases on this platform, I like basing my arguments on fact. I just want you guys to I want to show you the picture of yesterday. There's something I found very interesting, where President Uhuru Kenyatta addressed the nation right at the doorstep of Harambee House. That showed that the president was very serious on this matter. In most cases, he would have addressed it at State House. You know, Harambee House and Annex are just opposite. Those are the realities. It's not State House. You just cross, unaingia Annex. But the DP was not here. Now, I want us to look at this picture very keenly. In this picture, you see President Uhuru Kenyatta addressing the nation. Immediately after President Uhuru Kenyatta, there is Fred Okengo Matiang'i, who is the supervisor of cabinet secretaries. And then there is Mutahi Kagwe, the Minister for Health, just standing behind President Uhuru Kenyatta. I hope you are getting what I'm trying to say. Then behind Fred Matiang'i and Mutahi Kagwe, the other cabinet secretaries wako pale wameketi, wamesimama. So in an ordinary circumstance, the person who would have stood next to the president here just behind him. I don't know, it's normally, because there's also protocol. I can't remember whether it's normally to the right or to the left. But there's one guy who ought to have stood next to president. And that person is none other than the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, who is also the principal assistant to President Uhuru Kenyatta. So the DP was not here. So his place was now taken by Fred Matiang'i and Mutahi Kagwe. But what's wrong between these two individuals? I did a very comprehensive video when he failed to attend the National Security Council meeting. But now, when he failed to attend this, it means either the State House again did not invite him, or he was invited, but he did not come. And I want to believe that he was invited, but he chose not to come. Why? I have only 4 reasons, and I want to be very fast today. Number one, I think the DP is tired. Is tired, either is being frustrated within the government, or is being humiliated, or is just tired by just being called to be there just for the sake of it, without his input. Remember, the person coordinating all government affairs currently is Fred Matiang'i. I'm trying to figure out the way the DP has been accusing Matiang'i of plotting even to assassinate him, of all the evils, whether the DP and Fred Matiang'i can actually work together. So, sorry, someone interrupted me. So I'm not sure whether the DP and Fred Matiang'i can actually work together. Or maybe that's why the DP is tired. He feels like Matiang'i is doing everything, but for him, he's needed there just because he's the DP, is the principal assistant. He must come when there's a function like this. So I think it's just tired. So that's number one. Number two, which I think could be the main reason, is that the DP doesn't want to be associated with the current government. We all know that when Jubilee came to power, they gave Kenyans a lot of promises. But currently, none of those promises has been fulfilled. Instead, they have the Building Bridges initiative, which Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga are taking blame for. But because Kenyans are tired with the Jubilee government, Kenyans are very tired with Jubilee government, by the way, the DP is playing politics. He doesn't want to be associated with that government. Because assuming he was here, standing next to President Uhuru Kenyatta, then the next day his people will be going to central Kenya and telling those people how the government has failed. In my view, it would not have made sense. So I think the DP has developed a strategy, and that strategy is simple. Kenyans are tired with Jubilee government. Dissociate. By dissociating, it means the DP will not want anything associated with that government. That's why when the president, when he was called for that serious National Security Council meeting, he opted not to attend. Attending would have meant he's part of the system. So basically what the DP is trying to do, he's trying to associate with the Kenyans who are tired with Jubilee government. As a matter of fact, NASA supporters were tired with Jubilee government before the elections. People who are happy with Jubilee government were in Jubilee, who voted for Uhuru and Raila. Who voted for Uhuru and Ruto. And again, now almost half or more than half of those people are also now very tired with this government. And because politics is about interest, the DP has figured out that in politics, you just do certain things consistently, and people will view him as someone who is now not part of that government. He wants to get away, he wants to get himself off that government so that any blame, any failures will not be placed on him, will be placed on President Uhuru Kenyatta, Fred Matiang'i, and the government, and probably to some extent, Raila Odinga. I think that's politics. And in my view, it's a smart politics. But again, can you become president without this system? If the president will now decide that the DP is trying to avoid me, the DP doesn't want to associate with me, then how will that impact on the DP's presidential bid in 2022? So I think the DP doesn't want to be associated in any way with Jubilee government. Number three, I think there is also this unresolved differences between Uhuru and Ruto, and it's impacting on Kenyans. We all know that politics is politics. Uhuru and Ruto can have their own differences, be it BBI, be it what. But when it comes to matter of national importance, like the statement which the president issued yesterday, I think it was just right for the DP to attend. But it's not attending. Why? I think there are certain issues which he feels are yet to be resolved. Maybe Uhuru is still not very happy with the way his team has been insulting him, or with the way his team has been abusing the government, or the way he's being attacked in the presence of the DP. Or probably even the DP himself might not be very happy with the way the president has mistreated him, yet he really helped him to win the presidency. If you look at it from that perspective, then you figure, you see a group of people, two individuals, who have unresolved issues. In fact, from the way I'm looking at it, the differences between Uhuru and Ruto might be so deep, deeper than most Kenyans would actually think. In my view, I think the differences between them cannot be reconciled as things stand today. Lastly, I think the DP is also very clear that he's not very keen on sharing a podium with Fred Okengo Matiang'i. Remember, the president has made it clear. Just a minute. There was a bit of light coming up. I don't know what happened. The president has made it clear that he has confidence on Fred Matiang'i, he has confidence on George Kinoti, he has confidence on Nordin Haji. These three people, the DP doesn't have any slight confidence in them. I think that's a big problem. And because Fred Matiang'i is the guy who's been coordinating most of these things, I don't think the DP would be comfortable working very closely with the Fred Matiang'i, because he understands that Uhuru and Raila are probably figuring out have the option of even supporting Fred Matiang'i as the next president of the Republic of Kenya. He views now Fred Matiang'i as a possible opponent. And also, we also know that Fred Matiang'i has also been very clear that he only receives two instructions, one from President Uhuru Kenyatta, and who else? Raila Odinga. Not even the deputy president, but who is Raila Odinga in government structure? Raila Odinga is just an ordinary person like you. But who is Matiang'i? The coordinator of cabinet secretaries, now saying that he only receives two instructions from two people. But now you want the DP to come while this guy, who is supposed to be his subordinate, is saying he can't receive instructions from him. I think those are some of the underlying issues between Fred Matiang'i, Uhuru Kenyatta, and William Ruto. And because of those reasons, I think that's why the DP has been trying to avoid attending meetings with the President Uhuru Kenyatta. Let me just go briefly on them. Number one, the DP is tired. Number two, he doesn't want to be associated in any way with Jubilee government. Number three, there could be unresolved differences, issues between Uhuru and Ruto. And lastly, I think the mere fact that Fred Matiang'i is the guy in charge of these things, the DP feels that this guy has been insubordinating him. I don't know what you think. Let me know your views. But I think the mere fact that the DP refused to attend that function is a signal to Kenyans that the difference between Uhuru and Ruto is deep. Thank you guys. I don't know what you think. And if you're bumping on this video for the first time, again, just take a second or two and hit the subscribe button. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Because without that support, this channel would not be where it is today. Thank you guys, and please, may you have a good day.